Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show, the final video of the ongoing series of my 5,800 albums. This one is focusing on various artist compilation albums. I have 71 of them. Now, there's different subgenres in here. You got just some that are just various artists. You got some that are like artist tributes, Rolling Stones tributes, Genesis tributes, concert compilations with various artists. Some really famous concerts. That's a cool one. Genre compilations, Southern rock and British, invasion rock and other ones like that. Radio station comps, record label comps, things like that. So there's a bunch to cover. 71 albums. I'm going to use this as a guide because it does get a little complicated. Let's start with 4 that are just basically general various artist compilations. And one is an Alan Rosenberg original. That means I got it back in 1973 in my very first year of my database. This one, Dick Clark's 20 Years of Rock and Roll. I was 10 years old when I got this album, and I have it to this day, and it even came with a book of Dick Clark's 20 Years of Rock and Roll. Nice booklet. At the time, in 1973, this was pretty revolutionary. Pretty cool, right? I don't know if you've ever seen this. I don't think it ever came out on CD, that's for sure, because it goes from 1953 to 1973, which is when I got the album. This is what it breaks down to, 50s music, some 60s, all the way to 73. It ends with It's So Nice to Be With You from Gallery. So this is a very special record for me, and that is the first one to show you in Various Artists. Here's a British one. I don't remember where I found this. I found it at a record show. So if you are from across the pond, maybe you remember this, Formula 3.0. And this is just, again, a general various artist compilation, but it's really nice. And most importantly, it's got really cool songs on it. So you can kind of see it right there. You got Free, and the Stones are on here. You don't typically see the Rolling Stones in compilation albums. So, Small Faces, pretty cool one. If you know this one and you're from across the pond, let me know. That's definitely unusual. 2 other ones I'm going to show you. I actually got these for free from a friend of mine, and it's from a Time Life series. But it's actually pretty good. It's called Legend, We Will Rock You, Legend, Give Me Some Lovin'. And basically it's just 2 different CDs, general classic rock compilations, but really good stuff, and the kind of stuff that if you have people over, you throw it on, and all of a sudden people look at you like, what are you playing? That's pretty good. So that's that. There's 4 right there of general various artists. Here's one I call an artist tribute, and this is one called Supper's Ready, and this is a tribute to Genesis. I don't usually go for these kind of albums when it comes to my favorite bands. I really just want to hear the bands themselves, but I thought this would be interesting. Mostly, especially, it's got Annie Haslam singing Ripples. It was worth it for that alone. But pretty cool track listing of some great Genesis tracks performed by other artists. Now we go to maybe the most interesting one, and it's what we call concert compilations. These are very famous concerts. Let's start on vinyl right here with the California Jam 2 on vinyl. I don't think they ever put this out on CD. Let me know if they did. But there you go. That's what it looks like on the gatefold. And there is the lineup on the back. Santana, Dave Mason, Hart, Ted Nugent, Aerosmith, Frank Marino, Mahogany Rust, and Rubicon. Pretty cool live album, especially of its time. Great concert that was. Here's a cool one. Southern rock. And this is all live. It's called Hotels, Motels, and Road Shows. I'm a big fan of classic Southern rock. Right there, there's the gatefold. And if you want to know who's on it, well, you got a band called Stillwater, which is not the band that was in Almost Famous. And Bonnie Bramlett, Marshall Tucker, Elvin Bishop, Dixie Dregs, Greg Allman, Dickie Betts. You get the idea, Allman Brothers. Wet Willie. A really cool live compilation right there. That is a good one, various artists. Next up, a famous concert. The Concert for Campuchia. Do you remember this one? Really cool show, actually. Never, as far as I know, been put out on CD. Here's the vinyl album. I don't think they ever released this on DVD. I have a bootleg of it. But a really cool show of its time. Kind of forgotten in a way, but there's your lineup. You got The Who, and you got Queen, and Ian Dury and the Specials, and McCartney and Wings, and the Pretenders, and Elvis Costello, Rock Pile with Robert Plant. Really good one. Again, why this has never been released in a bigger way, I don't know the answer, but that's a good one. Now, the next one I'm going to show you is, well, let's keep going. How about the Bridge School Concerts, which Neil Young had put together? And these are acoustic shows, and there's a really good set list right there. That's a really good one. How about the Concert for George, which is a really famous show, of course, and a great lineup, and, tribute to George Harrison. How about this one? This was the Concert for New York City, legendary show for sure. This was broadcast on TV. And you got Mick and Keith even doing Miss You and Salt of the Earth. The Who absolutely tore it down. Who Are You, Baba O'Reilly, One Good Fool Again, Paul McCartney, Bon Jovi, Billy Joel. Legendary show. Great one. How about Night of the Guitars live? This was a really cool one. And you had instrumental Pete Haycock, Steve Hunter, Randy California, Ted Turner, Andy Powell from Wishbone Ash, Leslie West, Steve Howe, Alvin Lee. Really good one. The legendary No Nuke Show. And look at that lineup. Doobie Brothers, you could see it right there. And it was a film of this, but this is really a compilation Various Artists for me, not a soundtrack, because it's really not a distributed movie too much. Great lineup, great show. Message to Love, the Isle of Wight concert, 1970. Another legendary show from across the pond, and amazing lineup. You can see it right there, Tull and Free and The Who and Jimi Hendrix, Leonard Cohen, Joni Mitchell, The Doors, Bob Dylan, Moody Blues. Dropped it on the computer. Great show, obviously, legendary. Here's another legendary one. How about the Monterey Pop Festival? There's a lot of different versions of this concert available, including a box set I used to have, but this is a really good 2 CD set that I really love. A lot of the great highlights from that show. I do have the movie. I have the movie as a box set, actually, on DVD with tons of extras, but this is a great one. This one is a bootleg. Really cool. This is the famous New Musical Express Poll Winners concert from 1965. Great quality, and it's a legendary one because look at that lineup. The Moody Blues, Freddie and the Dreamers, Georgie Fame, The Seekers. You could see it. The Rolling Stones, and then you get the Beatles and the Kinks and the Animals and Them and Donovan, etc. Cool disc. And yeah, that's a real bootleg, but great. 12-12-12, the concert for Sandy Relief. This was when we had a terrible storm here and everybody had damage. And again, you got Bruce Springsteen and Roger Waters and Bon Jovi and Adam Sandler and Clapton and the Stones. You Got Me Rockin', Jumpin' Jack Flash, Billy Joel, The Who. Legendary show. Great 2 CD set. Now, the next one I'm going to show you is Woodstock. Now, a lot of people would say it should go into soundtracks. At least this one would go into soundtracks because it was the soundtrack to the film. And if this is the original 2-disc, of course I had it as a 3 vinyl album. Here it is on 2 CDs. And this is an amazing album. It's classic and I love it. I don't put it on the soundtrack strictly because there's so many Woodstock releases since, including this giant box set, 3 Days of Peace and Love, 25th Anniversary Collection, which looks like this. And this was a big, thick box set with 4 discs and a booklet. So at least double the length of the original soundtrack. So we have that. And if that's not enough, there are other releases of Woodstock as well, including the 40th anniversary, which is this one. Now, it doesn't look like a very big box until you look at it. This is a whopping 6 discs. I mean, this thing is loaded. And it's quite the undertaking to go through, but it's great. And so I got 3 different versions of Woodstock, which is why it is not in soundtracks, because only the original one would be on the soundtracks. So there you go. Some really, really cool compilations from legendary concerts. Let's go to the next section, which we are going to call genre compilations. And we're going to start with the British Invasion. You've seen these gold series. They're relatively inexpensive, but they're really good. And this is a 2-disc set from the British Invasion, and great stuff. Highly recommended. Elton John's Christmas Party. Well, that's a Various Artists compilation, and it's a genre one for Christmas, and it's a really good one. Elton John has obviously got great taste in music. He's a musicologist, and he did a good job on that. Here is Essential Blues from the House of Blues, and this is a 2 CD set, as you can see, with a huge 54-page booklet. It looks like this. And this is an amazing, amazing Various Artists compilation of the history of the blues. And few people know it better than the House of Blues. So there is your track listing on those 2 discs. This is 30 classic blues songs. Fantastic set. So fantastic, they did a second version of it called Essential Blues 2. And I got that as well. It's exactly the same as before. 2 discs. Just additional great, great tracks, and another huge, huge booklet that is just so well done. Histories of the artists, and really spectacular. So if you want to get into the blues, those 2 right there are fantastic. This is a fun one called Going South. Gotta love that cover. Gotta love that back cover. This is a 2 CD set of some classics from Southern rock. I am a huge Southern rock guy, and sometimes you just want to go with a compilation. You can get so many of the legendary artists. Here's a cool one, Nuggets, and this is not the box set. You'll see that. A classic collection from the psychedelic 60s, and I'm still sick. And there you go. On 1 disc, some really great tracks. There's Lies from the Knickerbockers. Gotta love that. Easy Beats, Friday on My Mind. You get it from Rhino. An excellent collection. Speaking of Southern rock, here's another one, kind of like that British Invasion, Southern Rock Gold. And this one is different than the other one I showed you. Similar bands, because you got all these legendary Southern rock bands, but different tracks. And this is great. You want to get into Southern rock, get one of these. This is terrific. Similar, here's The Source. I am not an expert on hip-hop and rap, but I like some of it. And I thought this would be cool to have. And this is called The Pioneers from The Source. LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, Run DMC. And it's actually pretty good for me. Rapper's Delight, amazing. So some really cool stuff on here. Found that out in the wild. And I found this one in the wild too. Hip Hop from the Top Part 1. This must have been from a bigger set. This is called Street Jams. But you get like Curtis Blows the Breaks, Rapper's Delight from Sugar Hill Gang. The Message is great. So, good compilation for me. And here's one called Vietnam. This was a TV documentary, Songs from the Divided House. This was on the History Channel. And again, great, great tracks over 2 discs, fully loaded, classic stuff. Great set. Okay, how about this one? This is an interesting one. This is called The Key to Our Love, Vinyl 2, Volume 2. This is from an independent label, and these are really, really, really deep cuts that they put out. And I thought this was a really neat compilation. Sometimes you uncover things that you just never heard of, like I know this band Coast to Coast, I Want You Dear, and I had a single of that, a 12-inch. And here it is on here, and that's what made me get this. Really cool collection. Hard to find for sure, but my props go to like these small labels that invest in putting together a compilation of stuff that very few people know and would be really very hard to find out in the wild. And that's what they did. They did a good job. Cool find. Let's stick that one over there. We'll get rid of that. And I'm going to show you on tape just so you can see it. Here is from the concert one I should have showed you. This is just a cassette. I have not showed you my cassettes, but this is the Atlantic Records 40th anniversary, May 14th, 1988. And I taped it. And this is that whole show on 4 cassettes. And just I thought I would show you this. Again, I have not been showing in this all my cassettes and recorded cassettes, but I thought that would be a cool one to show you. When I showed you that Nuggets CD, here's the Nuggets box, which of course is the 4 CD disc that Rhino put out. It's got this. Volume 1's got the original Nuggets album, and then you got 3 more volumes on here, and this is your really, really deep stuff. Beautifully curated, great sounding, and of course you get a fantastic book in this box. This is classic stuff that really every rock and roll collection should have if you want to go deep with these, nugget type stuff, one-hit wonders and bands that just hit it out of the park on a couple of occasions, and beautifully collated on that Nuggets box. So let's put that over there. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about radio shows, and I have a couple of them. Just like stuff that were actually for the radio, and I find them at record shows. So here's a thing called The Source, music magazine, Rock Street, broadcast on March 18th, 1920th of 1983. Just fun to have these, This is what you would have been listening to on the radio, and I got it. And here's another one, for instance. I'll show you. This is a double record set. I like these every once in a while. They kind of bring me back to listening to the radio and what you hear. So, like, here's Westward One and Rock and Roll Never Forgets, and you can see they pick a year, and they're playing stuff from that particular year, as you can see. So it's just definitely kind of fun. I have another one here. Here's another one. Isn't It a Pity? That's What It Takes. Love Is Alive. Gary Wright. So they talk about that time period, and they play the songs, and it's fun. And this is actually what you would have heard on the radio. So I have a couple of radio shows, which is fun. Now, another one could be what we call radio station compilations. So here's one, for instance, that was put out by Columbia Records Radio Hour, Volume 1. And again, this was like a radio show, and you could see who's on there: Bruce Coburn, and acoustic stuff, Sean Colvin, Mary Chapin Carpenter, Leonard Cohen, Roseanne Cash. Pretty cool radio program disc. Now, I'm a local guy here on Long Island. One of the best ones I love was WBAB back in their time, and they used to play new local artists, and some of them made it big, like the Good Rats and Zebra, Twisted Sister. Here's the original WBAB Homegrown album. And this is before Zebra put out their album, before Twisted Sister put out their album. You could see them on here. Stanton Anderson Band. And that did so well. They did Son of Homegrown. Great stuff. And again, more stuff from Rat Race Choir and Zebra and Southern Cross Band and Twisted Sister and Mazarin. If you're from Long Island, you know these names. And here's the third one. Long Island's Rock and Roll presents Homegrown 84, The Next Generation, starring those local bands. And this is what's on them right there. You could see Mazarin and Randy Coven Band and Vixen and more. Good stuff, Broken Arrow. So classic stuff. If you are a Long Islander, WBAB Homegrown definitely means something to you. And it was a great time back when radio was good. Okay, let's keep going. How about a thing what you would call record label promotional compilations? So this is the actual record labels putting this stuff out, and I have a bunch of these. So we had, Warner Brothers was big on these. You used to be able to buy these in like Rolling Stone magazine, and they'd be cheap, like $3, and they're publicizing their newest releases. This was one called The Big Ball. And then here's one called Heavies for September from Atlantic, Atco, Rolling Stones Records, and more. And again, you could buy these retail through ads in like Rolling Stone magazine. And they were good. Here's Dancing with Mr. D from Goat's Head Soup, and Bette Midler in Ohio from Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, and John Prine, and the rest. So I have a bunch of these. Here was one called Schlagers. Pretty much Warner Brothers was big on these. And they would, like I said, cheap. You bought them through the magazine. You sent in like $3 and they mail you this. And this was their upcoming releases for that quarter. Here's another one called the whole Burbank catalog. $2. There it was. It was $2. And it looked like that. And you got Jerry Garcia is listed there. You see that? There's Jerry Garcia and other people. Again, they would send this to you. Alice Cooper, Jethro Tull. I'm wearing Tull shirt. Fleetwood Mac, Show Me a Smile from Future Games. Faces, Captain Beefheart, T-Rex, and new artists. Bonnie Raitt, brand new artist. So kind of cool back in its time. And I still have a bunch of those. Here's Peaches, Volume 2. Pick of the Crop. Same kind of an idea, but this was Capricorn, the Southern Rock label. And these were double albums. There's Capricorn record label. And again, you can send in a couple of bucks, and they send you their upcoming releases. And you can see Ovin Bishop, Wet Willie, Greg Allman, etc. Marshall Tucker Band. Cool stuff. Here's another one from Atlantic called By Invitation Only, Alan Freeman, Pick of the Guests. And their gatefold looks like that. And there's a Stones tongue because the Stones were on there. And you can see who's on there. Look at that. Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones, Stephen Stills, Average Whitebread, Springfield. Yes, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and Delaney and Bonnie, Pretty Things, and more. So these were really cool sets. And it was a good way to know what the record labels were going to be putting out. Some other ones I got here is the Complete Stacks. 18-track sampler from Stax. And how about Paul McCartney, MPL, his label. He owns a lot of publishing, including Buddy Holly and many others. So here's a treasury of songs from MPL that McCartney owns. Here was a thing called Remasterpieces, Atlantic Records, doing a promo of some of their upcoming remastered albums. And you can see Yes, and Bad Company, and Genesis, and Zeppelin, and more. And here's same kind of thing with Arista, the Arista Masters. And they have like Graham Parker, and the Outlaws, and Patti Smith, and others. Cool sampler. Here's the songs of Jerry Goffin. So this is a publisher's promo, 2 discs. And look at how great that is. I mean, look at these amazing songs. And I saw this out in the wild, and there's a phone number there at that time where if you wanted to license their music, you could do that. Here's another one, the Redbird Girls, very first time in True Stereo, 64 to 66. This is a really cool collection from that label, Redbird Records. And you can see what's on it. And this is a great, great compilation. Love it. And let's get into, how about Rolling Stones oriented? Well, this is one. Living Guitars Play Songs Made Famous by the Rolling Stones. This is not particularly good, but I saw this in a record store or somewhere a long time ago, and I was like, well, I got to get that. And these are covers of the Rolling Stones. Really interesting, just on guitar. Not exactly highly recommended, but cool. All right, let's keep going. How about the Jagger Richards Songbook? And that's what this is. Covers of classic Stones tracks. It's actually really good. You know, you'll see, like, there's The Who doing The Last Time, Flamin' Groovies, Rod Stewart, Street Fighting Man, and a lot more here. Cool one. Stone Rock Blues. Original recordings of songs that the Stones covered. So it's the flip side. And this is a really good compilation. And Stone Country, which is country artists performing the Stones. So it's just okay. You can see who's covering the Stones in a country rock way. It's just alright. This was a free one from Uncut magazine. Keith Richards picks the Devil's music. But a really cool compilation of stuff that Keith was recommending, including tracks that the Stones covered. Here's another one, The Roots of the Rolling Stones. Right there. None of these, by the way, are in my database as Rolling Stones albums. These are all various artists' albums. But it's pretty cool. It shows you tracks, again, that tracks that the Stones covered, the original versions. And here's the Rolling Stones, the songs they gave away. This is really interesting. This is, as you can see, lots of tracks that the Stones wrote that they gave away, became pretty big hits or minor hits for others, But a lot of these showed up on like Metamorphosis, where the Stones, you could hear the Stones backing tracks. But the Stones didn't do a lot of those tracks. Okay, a couple more to show you. How about the Secret Policeman's Ball? Amazing concerts that were done for Amnesty International. This was the first one, and this was legendary in its time. Pete Townsend playing acoustic, Tom Robinson, John Williams. This was amazing. This was a big hit in its time for me. Then they did a full-length album the following year, I believe it was. And again, this is just the music. And the idea was they were playing acoustic long before Unplugged was big, you know. So this was acoustic performances. Well, not Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton right there, but you get the idea. Here was the third one. And really cool stuff. Kate Bush, Duran Duran, All for Charity, Joan Armatrading, Mark Knopfler, Chet Atkins. This was a great one as well. And I was lucky enough to find one of them on CD. These are not easy to find, but it's a great one. All right, last but not least, two from Bill Wyman. Recently showed these under Bill Wyman. Bill Wyman's Blue Odyssey. He came with a book and a documentary, and he digs really deep into the blues and the history of the blues. That's a cool one. And Rude Dudes, which was, again, Bill Wyman put this out as a follow-up, and this was kind of bawdy. Is that the word you would say? Bawdy songs, you know, dirty blues songs at sex and stuff like that, that Bill Wyman goes deep into his archives. There you have it, folks. Oh, no. We forgot. A complete introduction to Northern Soul, a box set. A box set of 4 discs. Boy, I forgot a couple of these here. Some more genre ones. So this is Northern Soul, 4 discs with a really nice booklet in the middle. And here in the United States, we don't really know what Northern Soul is, but I do. But you guys across the pond know, and this is a classic collection for sure of those great Northern Soul tracks that they'd be playing in the clubs for you to dance to. And this is a really good box called Rock Rhythm and Doo-Wop, the greatest songs from early rock and roll. And Rhino, of course, does a great job. This is 3 discs of those 50s tracks. And I love these. I got to tell you, to me, like classic 50s stuff really doesn't go out of style. It still sounds great. Beautiful booklet with the artists and the tracks, glossy photos of who they are, and really, really well done. But you wouldn't expect otherwise from Rhino. One more, the Buddha box. Does anybody remember Buddha Records? Well, I certainly do, and I was a fan. A lot of their stuff was bubblegum, but they did have some great stuff like the Love and Spoonful, and you could see it. Some definitely bubblegum stuff, but the Jaggers and Melanie with Lay Down and Bill Withers and Gladys Knight and Sha Na Na and Norman Connors and more. And this is a great box called the Buddha Box. 3 discs and a nice booklet that goes through the whole history of Buddha Records, which was a pretty cool label, in my opinion, but a lot of bubblegum stuff on there as well. And that's a really cool box that I wanted to show you too. So, I think we kind of covered it. Let me know what you think. There you have it, folks. Some really cool various artist type stuff. I'm glad you stuck with me through this massive undertaking. But there you now have it, about 5,800 albums in its entirety. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you for your support. If you are new to my channel, hit subscribe. And if you're here in America or you celebrate anywhere else, I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. And I'll see you around on the Alan Rosenberg Show.